The massive Imperial ships appeared without warning, their dark hulls blocking out the stars as they positioned themselves above Earth's major cities. The sight sent waves of panic through the streets of New York, Tokyo, and London. But in a secure bunker beneath the Rocky Mountains, Admiral James Stone watched the alien fleet with an unusual calmness that puzzled the Imperial observers. "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported Lieutenant Brown, her fingers moving quickly across the holographic display. "They're demanding to speak with Earth's leaders." Admiral Stone straightened his uniform and nodded. "Put them through on the main screen." The image that appeared showed a tall figure in an ornate uniform. The alien commander looked almost human, except for his gray skin and completely black eyes. "I am High Commander Smith of the Galactic Empire. Your primitive world now has the honor of joining our glorious empire. Resist, and we will show you no mercy." Stone's mouth twitched slightly. "High Commander, I am Admiral James Stone of the United Earth Defense Force. We appreciate your generous offer. However, we'll need time to discuss this with our planetary council." "You have 48 Earth hours to surrender," Smith declared. "After that, we will demonstrate our power in ways your simple minds cannot imagine." The transmission cut off abruptly. As soon as the screen went dark, Stone's calm expression changed to a small smile. He pressed a button on his command chair. "Get me the President and the Joint Chiefs. It's time to activate Protocol Omega." In the next hour, deep beneath the surface of every continent, hidden bunkers hummed to life. Massive doors opened in the ocean floor as submarine carriers emerged from their secret bases. On the far side of the moon, weapon platforms that had waited decades for this moment powered up their systems. "They really have no idea, do they, sir?" asked Lieutenant Brown. Stone shook his head. 30 years ago, one of their scout ships crashed in the Australian outback. They never came looking for it. That was their first mistake. He walked to the window, looking up at the Imperial ships. "We've spent every day since then preparing for this moment." In their ships above, the Imperial forces watched Earth's military bases with amusement. Their scans showed primitive aircraft, basic missile systems, and what they considered to be laughably weak energy shields. They didn't notice the quantum sensors studying their every move, or the AI systems analyzing their weaknesses. "Sir," called out Captain Wilson from his station, "all defense grids report ready. The Mars bases are online, and the Jupiter platforms are charged." "What about Project Phoenix?" Stone asked. "All ships report ready for launch on your command." Stone looked around the command center at the faces of his crew. None showed fear. They had trained for this their entire careers. "Send word to all commands. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active, but no one moves until they make the first mistake." In orbit, High Commander Smith looked down at the blue planet with contempt. "Primitive savages," he muttered to his bridge crew. "They still use combustion engines and silicon-based computers." His second-in-command nodded in agreement. Neither of them knew that humans had long ago learned that sometimes the best strategy was to let your enemy underestimate you. They didn't know that Earth had not only studied their crashed ship, but had improved upon its technology in ways the Empire had never imagined. As the 48-hour deadline approached, Admiral Stone reviewed the defense plans one final time. "Send a message to all commands," he ordered. "The enemy expects us to either surrender or fight like primitives. Let's show them how humans really wage war." The Empire had made many mistakes in its long history, but as the sun set on Earth that evening, they were about to learn their biggest one. Never underestimate a species that had spent its entire history preparing for fights it wasn't supposed to win. The next 48 hours would change the galaxy forever. The 48-hour deadline passed like a slow-moving storm. High Commander Smith, tired of waiting, decided to teach these primitives a lesson. He chose a remote military base in the Nevada desert as his target. It seemed perfect, far from major cities, minimal civilian casualties, but enough firepower to make Earth's leaders understand their situation. "Begin the attack," Smith ordered, watching the tactical display with satisfaction. Use only 10% power. We don't want to damage our future territory too much. 3 Imperial warships moved into position above the Nevada base. Green energy beams sliced through the atmosphere, heating the air until it crackled. The Empire's crew watched eagerly, expecting to see buildings vaporize and defenses crumble. Instead, their beams splashed harmlessly against a shimmering blue shield. Impossible. Smith slammed his fist on his command chair. Their technology is primitive. Increase power to 50%. The ships fired again. The shield flickered slightly but held firm. Below, inside the base's control room, Major Tom Baker grinned as he watched the enemy's frustration through their surveillance systems. "Should we return fire, sir?" asked his weapons officer. Baker shook his head. "Not yet. Admiral Stone wants them to really commit to their mistake. Let them think we're just lucky." In orbit, Smith was rapidly losing his composure. Full power. "I want that base destroyed." All 3 ships fired everything they had. The Nevada desert lit up like a second sun. When the dust cleared, the shield remained intact, though now it shimmered with a slight purple tint. "Sir," Baker's science officer called out, "they're bringing their ships lower to increase the beam intensity. They're now within optimal range of our EMP cannons." Baker's grin widened. "Now that's what we were waiting for. Admiral Stone, we have them in position." From his command center, Stone's voice came through clear and calm. "You may proceed, Major. Show them our first surprise." Baker pressed his palm against the DNA scanner. Authentication confirmed. Weapons free. Target their primary power systems. Hidden panels in the desert floor slid open. 3 devices, looking more like weather stations than weapons, rose from underground. They hummed for exactly 2 seconds before releasing invisible pulses of electromagnetic energy, precisely calibrated to the Imperial ship's shield frequency. In orbit, Smith watched in horror as his ship's systems began failing one by one. "What's happening?" "Report." "My lord, we've lost main power," his engineer shouted. "Backup systems are not responding. We're being held in place by some kind of magnetic field." Stone's voice broadcast across all frequencies, reaching every Imperial ship in orbit. "High Commander Smith, consider this our response to your ultimatum. We could have destroyed your ships, but we chose not to. I suggest you take this opportunity to reevaluate your assumptions about Earth's capabilities." The disabled Imperial ships hung in the air, caught in Earth's magnetic net, like flies in a spider's web. Smith's face had turned from gray to almost white as he realized the magnitude of his error. "How?" he whispered. "How did they know our shield frequency? How did they build weapons that could target our systems so precisely?" On Earth, Baker walked outside his base to look up at the trapped Imperial ships. Behind him, technicians were already analyzing the data from the brief battle, finding new weaknesses to exploit. "Sir," his lieutenant said, joining him outside, "Admiral Stone reports that the other Imperial ships are pulling back to a higher orbit. They're requesting an emergency communication channel." Baker nodded. "They're finally starting to understand. But I don't think they realize this was just our warning shot." He turned to head back inside. "Wait until they see what we've got planned for their main fleet." In orbit, the Empire had just learned its first painful lesson about Earth. Unfortunately for them, it wouldn't be the last. In the Imperial flagship's main analysis chamber, head researcher Mike paced back and forth, his gray skin almost pale white with stress. Dozens of holographic screens surrounded him, each showing different aspects of Earth's unexpected technological advancement. "This makes no sense," he muttered, comparing data streams. 30 years ago, they were launching primitive rockets with chemical fuel. Now they're manipulating electromagnetic fields with precision that rivals our best systems. The door slid open, and High Commander Smith stormed in. "I want answers. How did these primitives advance so quickly?" Mike gestured to a central display, showing the wreckage of their old scout ship in Australia. "Sir, I believe I found something disturbing. They didn't just study our crashed ship. They improved it. Improved Imperial technology. Impossible. Look at this." Mike brought up a series of images. They took our basic shield design and merged it with their understanding of plasma physics. They didn't just copy our technology. They'd reimagined it completely. Meanwhile, on the edge of the solar system, Commander Robert Wells led Earth's first deep space battle group. His flagship, the EDS Unexpected, looked nothing like traditional Earth vessels or Imperial ships. It was smaller, faster, and packed with innovations that made Imperial tacticians scratch their heads in confusion. "Enemy fleet detected," his sensor officer reported. 6 Imperial cruisers on standard patrol pattern. Wells smiled. "Perfect time to test our new toys. Bring us in quiet." The Unexpected slipped through space using a propulsion system that combined Imperial anti-gravity tech with Earth's recent breakthroughs in dark matter manipulation. The Empire's sensors couldn't detect them. They weren't even looking for such a combination of technologies. "Sir," his weapons officer called out, "targeting solutions ready. Using the new variable frequency pulse cannons. Fire when ready," Wells ordered. "Let's show them another human surprise." The pulse cannons fired, each shot automatically adjusting its frequency to match the exact weak point of Imperial shields. 3 enemy ships lost power before they even knew they were under attack. Back in the analysis chamber, Mike was showing Smith more disturbing discoveries. "Look at their military history, sir. These humans, they've been fighting each other for their entire recorded history. They've developed countless strategies, tactics, and weapons. So they're savages," Smith growled. "That just proves my point." "No, sir, you don't understand. Each war taught them something new. They learned from every conflict, adapted their tactics, improved their technology. And now they're applying thousands of years of warfare experience to space combat." On the tactical display, they watched as Wells' ship danced between the remaining Imperial cruisers. The Earth vessel moved in ways that defied Imperial combat doctrine, attacking from angles their training never covered. "Their ships are too small," one Imperial captain complained over the comm. "They don't follow proper engagement protocols. This isn't how space combat is supposed to work." Wells heard the transmission and laughed. "Proper protocols? Sorry, but humans wrote our own book on space combat." His ship spun on its axis, firing from multiple angles simultaneously. The last Imperial cruiser's shields collapsed under the assault. Instead of destroying it, Wells ordered his crew to disable its engines and communication systems. "Let them drift home," he ordered. "They need to deliver our message. Earth isn't following anyone's rules but our own." In the analysis chamber, Mike pulled up one final display. "Sir, I found something else in their historical records. Stories, thousands of them, about alien invasions. They've been imagining this conflict for centuries, preparing for it in their minds, their literature, their movies. When we arrived, they weren't surprised. They were ready." Smith stared at the screen showing yet another Earth victory. "How do you fight an enemy that's been preparing to fight you before they even knew you existed?" Mike shook his head. "That's what makes humans different, sir. They don't just adapt to the present. They prepare for every possible future. And unfortunately for us, this was one of them." The Empire was learning that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology. It was their imagination, their adaptability, and their endless drive to overcome any challenge. The galaxy would never be the same. Captain Maria Torres sat in the darkness of her small ship, the Shadow Runner, watching the massive Imperial supply convoy pass through the dust cloud. Her vessel, barely larger than an old Earth transport truck, was powered down to avoid detection. Only her tactical display gave off a faint blue glow in the cockpit. "Look at them," she whispered to her crew. 5 huge cargo ships, 2 escort cruisers, all following the same predictable route. The Empire never learns. Her second-in-command, Jack, checked their weapon systems. They still think size equals power. Their ships are so big they can only use major trade routes. That's why we're going to teach them another lesson about human warfare. Torres activated her ship's special communication system, one that used the Empire's own data networks to send encrypted messages. All shadow units, check in. 4 other small ships, hidden throughout the dust cloud, reported ready. Each one carried a crew of just 6 humans, but their ships packed enough surprises to ruin any Imperial commander's day. Remember the plan, Torres broadcasted. Hit fast, hit hard, and be gone before their backup arrives, just like old Earth pirates. The Imperial convoy moved exactly as expected. Their massive ships pushed through space like giant whales, their crews bored and comfortable in their routine. They had no idea they were swimming into a trap. Now, Torres ordered. 5 Shadow Runner ships burst from the dust cloud, engines blazing to life. Before the Imperial escorts could raise their shields, Torres' ship fired special missiles that attached to their hulls. The devices activated, sending targeted electromagnetic pulses through the enemy ship's systems. "What's happening?" the Imperial captain demanded as his bridge went dark. "How are they blocking our shields?" "The primitives are full of surprises," Torres replied on an open channel. Her ships were already moving to the cargo vessels, which tried to flee but were too slow to escape. Instead of destroying the cargo ships, the Shadow Runners used magnetic grapples to attach themselves to specific points on their hulls. Torres' crew cut through using tools designed to bypass Imperial armor. 15 minutes until their backup arrives, Jack reported, checking his timer. "More than enough time," Torres replied with a grin. Her team moved through the cargo ship with practiced efficiency, taking only the most valuable supplies and tech. They had studied Imperial ship layouts for months, knowing exactly where to find what they needed. Back in the Empire's Central Command, High Commander Smith received the report with growing anger. "They're not even trying to conquer territory. They're just raiding our supply lines like common thieves." His tactical officer looked uncomfortable. "Sir, they've hit 30 convoys in the last week, always with small ships, always striking where we're weakest. We can't predict where they'll attack because they don't follow any standard military doctrine. And now they're using our own communication networks." Smith slammed his fist on his chair. "How are they accessing our secure channels?" In her ship, racing away from the disabled convoy with their stolen cargo, Torres accessed the Empire's communication network again. She could hear their frustrated commands, their confusion, their growing fear. "Send the usual message," she ordered her communication officer. Across Imperial channels, a simple text appeared. "Thanks for the supplies. Better luck next time. Earth's space pirates." Jack laughed as he read the message. "You know what really drives them crazy? We never destroy their ships. We just embarrass them." "That's the point," Torres explained, watching the Imperial backup ships arrive too late. "In old Earth warfare, sometimes the best victory isn't destroying your enemy. It's making them waste resources trying to stop you." Her ship disappeared into another dust cloud, already planning their next raid. The Empire had spent centuries building their military around massive fleets and overwhelming force. Now they were learning that sometimes the smallest ships, crewed by the craftiest humans, could cause the biggest problems. As Torres' fleet vanished into the darkness of space, she smiled. The Empire still didn't understand. Humans had turned guerrilla warfare into an art form long before they reached the stars. Now the entire galaxy was their jungle. The Imperial War Room fell silent as the holographic display showed another fleet defeat. Their best admiral, with 300 years of combat experience, had just lost to an Earth commander who was barely 30 years old. The entire battle had lasted less than 20 minutes. High Commander Smith stared at the casualty report in disbelief. "How? Our ships outnumbered them 5-1. We had better weapons, stronger shields." "They used an eye," the tactical officer explained, his voice shaking. "An artificial intelligence that could predict our moves before we made them. In Earth's orbital command center, General Danny Black watched the same battle replay with satisfaction. Next to him, a holographic brain pulsed with different colors as it analyzed the combat data. "Another excellent prediction, Atlas," Black said to the AI. "You calculated their attack pattern perfectly." The AI's voice was calm and clear. "The Empire's tactics are based on centuries of tradition. They follow their ancient combat doctrines without question. This makes them predictable." Black nodded. This was humanity's latest advantage. They had merged their military AI with the tactical data from the Empire's own ships. Atlas could process centuries of Imperial combat data in seconds, finding patterns that even the Empire's oldest commanders didn't know they were following. "Sir," his assistant called out, "the Empire is moving their reserve fleet from the core systems. Over 2,000 ships." "They still think numbers are the answer," Black said, shaking his head. "Atlas, begin calculating possible attack vectors. And let's show them our latest surprise." In space, Earth's newest warship, the Innovation, moved into position. Unlike other Earth ships, this one was huge, almost as big as an Imperial battlecruiser. But its size had a purpose. Captain Bill stood on the Innovation's bridge, surrounded by screens showing the incoming Imperial Armada. "All sections report ready, sir. The hybrid drive is at full power." The Innovation's main feature was its engine, a combination of 5 different alien technologies, each one stolen or salvaged from different species the Empire had conquered. No one had ever thought to combine them before. No one except humans. "Imperial fleet dropping out of faster-than-light travel," his sensor officer reported. "They're launching fighters." Bill smiled. "Activate the gravity web." The Innovation's hybrid drive pulsed, creating a field that combined artificial gravity with quantum entanglement. Imperial fighters suddenly found themselves pulled in multiple directions at once, their pilots unable to compensate for forces their training never covered. "Impossible," the Imperial fleet commander shouted as he watched his fighter squadron spin out of control. "They're breaking the laws of physics." "No," Bill replied over the open channel. "We're just breaking your understanding of them." The Innovation's weapons opened fire next. Each shot contained a different type of energy, constantly changing frequencies and patterns. Imperial shields, designed to block specific types of attacks, couldn't adapt fast enough. Back in the war room, Smith watched another defeat unfold. What are these humans? How can they innovate so quickly? His science advisor cleared his throat. "Sir, we found something interesting in their historical records. Humans have a saying, 'Necessity is the mother of invention.' When they face a problem, they don't just look for one solution. They try everything, combine technologies in ways we never imagined." The display showed more Earth ships arriving, each one different, each one carrying new surprises. The Empire had spent thousands of years perfecting their technology. Humans had taken that same technology, torn it apart, and rebuilt it into something new. "Their greatest weapon isn't their ships or their AI," the advisor continued. "It's their creativity, their willingness to experiment, to break rules, to try the impossible." As the Imperial Reserve Fleet retreated in disorder, General Black received reports of Earth victories across multiple sectors. The innovation gap between Earth and the Empire wasn't about technology, it was about imagination. The Empire had built the galaxy's greatest civilization, but humans were about to rebuild it, whether the Empire liked it or not. High Commander Smith stood before the Imperial Council, his voice echoing through the massive chamber. "We must crush Earth now, with everything we have. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier." The council members murmured in agreement. Their mighty empire, ruler of 1,000 worlds, was being humiliated by a single planet. They had lost too many ships, too much face. It was time to end this. "Gather the Grand Fleet," the council leader ordered. "We will show these humans the true meaning of imperial power." 10,000 ships assembled, the largest fleet in Imperial history. As they prepared to jump to Earth's solar system, Smith felt confident. No civilization had ever survived such overwhelming force. In Earth's command center, Admiral Stone watched the massive fleet's approach on his tactical display. His expression remained calm, even as others in the room tensed. They'd finally committed their full strength, Stone said, pressing a button on his chair. All defense stations, this is Admiral Stone. Execute Operation Solar Storm. Across the solar system, humanity's true defenses awakened. On Mercury, massive solar collectors powered up, ready to channel the sun's energy into weapons. Venus's cloud cities revealed their cloaked gun platforms. Mars's polar caps opened to reveal missile silos. But Jupiter was humanity's masterpiece. Its many moons have been turned into a network of fortresses, each one hiding technologies the Empire had never imagined. Europa's ice sheets concealed quantum torpedo launchers. Ganymede housed gravity pulse cannons. Io's volcanoes were now powered by artificial fusion cores. Imperial fleet entering the system. Lieutenant Brown reported. They're heading straight for Earth. Stone nodded. Just as expected. Let them come past Mars. Every position. Hold your fire until my mark. The Imperial fleet moved forward with unstoppable confidence. Their ships filled space like a metal storm, weapons charged and shields at maximum power. Look at their pitiful defenses, Smith laughed, seeing only a small Earth fleet guarding their homeworld. They've finally run out of tricks. Stone's voice came over all channels. High Commander Smith, this is your final warning. Withdraw now. You dare threaten us? Smith replied. We are the Imperial fleet. We are in Vinci. Now, Stone ordered. Jupiter's moons lit up first. Gravity beams distorted space itself, creating zones where Imperial ships couldn't maintain formation. Quantum torpedoes phased through their shields as if they weren't there. Solar energy weapons from Mercury turned space into fire. Impossible, Smith screamed as his ships began exploding. Where did these weapons come from? How long have they been planning this? The Empire's mighty fleet found itself caught in a killing zone centuries in the making. Every route of retreat was cut off by another weapon system they'd never seen before. Earth's smaller fleet moved in, targeting key ships with precise strikes. Status report, Smith demanded. My lord, we've lost 30% of the fleet. 40%. 50%. His officer replied, voice shaking. Their weapons are coming from everywhere. The moons, the planets, even the asteroid belt. In Earth's command center, Stone watched the Imperial fleet's formation break apart. Humanity had one advantage the Empire never understood, he said to his crew. We've spent our entire history looking up at the stars, wondering what threats might come from them. When we reached space, we didn't just explore it, we fortified it. The remaining Imperial ships tried to retreat, but Earth's defenses had predicted their escape routes. More ships fell to carefully planned crossfires. The mighty Grand Fleet, pride of the Empire, was being torn apart by defenses built in secret over decades. Send the final message, Stone ordered. Across all Imperial channels, Earth's message played. This is our solar system. We spent 30 years preparing it just for you. Perhaps now you understand. Humans don't just fight wars. We make sure we win them before they even begin. The Empire's greatest fleet was about to learn its final lesson about humanity. Some bears are best left unpoked. The Imperial Palace shook with angry voices as news of the Grand Fleet's defeat spread. Thousands of years of military tradition, destroyed in a single battle. High Commander Smith stood before the council, no longer proud but broken. Earth's forces are approaching the core worlds, he reported, his voice hollow. But they're not attacking. They're waiting. In his flagship, now orbiting the Imperial capital world, Admiral Stone reviewed Earth's final message to the Empire. Behind him, representatives from Earth's nations had gathered to witness this historic moment. Are you sure about these terms? General Black asked, reading the peace conditions. We could demand so much more. Stone smiled. Humans learned long ago that the hardest part of winning a war is winning the peace that follows. Send the message. Across the galaxy, on every Imperial channel, Earth's terms were broadcast. To the Empire and all its peoples, we do not seek your destruction or submission. Instead, we offer a new beginning. Your empire spent millennia conquering. We spend our time building. Let us show you a better way. In the Imperial Palace, the council members read Earth's offered peace terms with disbelief. First, the Empire would end forced subjugation of worlds. Each planet would choose its own path. Second, Earth would share its innovations with all worlds, imperial and free alike. Knowledge would flow freely. Third, a new galactic council would be formed, where all species had equal voice, even the smallest colonies. This is not how conquerors act, one council member said, confused. They have us at their mercy. Why offer peace? The answer came from an unexpected source. A young imperial scientist named David stepped forward. Because they're human. I studied them. They don't want an empire. They want a community. In Earth's flagship, Stone received the first responses. Many imperial worlds were already pledging support for the new order, tired of centuries of rigid control. The Empire's mighty facade was cracking. Sir, Lieutenant Brown reported, Imperial military bases across 3 sectors are requesting Earth advisors. They want to learn our methods. Stone nodded. Send them teachers, not commanders. Show them how humans turn enemies into allies. The changes spread faster than anyone expected. Imperial worlds discovered that Earth's innovations could solve problems they'd struggled with for centuries. Humans taught them to combine technologies in new ways, to think beyond traditional limits. In the Imperial Academy, once the pride of imperial military doctrine, human instructors introduced new ideas. They taught that strength came not from size or numbers, but from adaptability and innovation. The humans have changed everything, David explained to a group of imperial officials, but not through force. They're succeeding because they're sharing knowledge, encouraging questions, rewarding creativity. 6 months after the Grand Fleet's defeat, the old Imperial Council chamber hosted the first meeting of the new Galactic Alliance. Representatives from Earth sat alongside former Imperial worlds and newly independent planets. Admiral Stone addressed the gathering. We humans have a saying. The best victory is one where both sides win. We didn't come to space to conquer it. We came to explore, to learn, and to grow. Now we invite you all to grow with us. The empire that had ruled through fear was transformed into something new. Human innovation combined with imperial resources created a golden age of discovery and progress. In the Academy's new museum, they added a display showing the crashed scout ship that started everything. Below it, a plaque read, "The Empire taught us we weren't alone in the universe. We taught them they weren't alone in their journey to the stars." The galaxy learned that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their weapons or tactics. It was their ability to turn their fiercest opponents into their strongest allies. As Stone looked out at the stars from Earth's orbital station, he smiled. The Empire had wanted to teach humanity a lesson. Instead, humanity had taught the galaxy that the best way to win wasn't just about fighting. It was about making sure everyone could win together.